Welcome to This Just In, the show bringing you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. And now, for the fastest voice in healthcare, here's your host, Justin Barnes.
Thank you for tuning in and welcome to This Just In. I'm your host, Justin Barnes. In these episodes, I'll bring you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and leadership. As always, we're broadcasting from the This Just In studios on the Business Radio X network, as well as the Healthcare Now radio network. However, before we dive into our special show today, and on the heels of our 2024 Podcast of the Year award, excited to share that we're expanding our broadcast into the Global Health Podcast Network, and the phenomenal community there could not be more thrilled as we continue to grow and expand globally. And also thrilled to remind everyone that the This Just In radio show will be broadcasting live from Vive 25 in Nashville, February 16th to the 19th, and also HIMSS 25 in Las Vegas, March 3rd through the 6th. So come by and say hello. It's always great to see and collaborate with thousands of our closest industry peers and friends. I'm ready, but I'm also ready for this episode, my 323rd episode. We have two very special guests joining us, Mike Mosquito and Maureen Nylin, hosts of the Buzz podcast. Welcome back to the show, Mike, and welcome to the show for the first time, Maureen. So, Mike, how you doing, my good friend?
Doing well. Good to see you as always, Justin. Glad to be on the show again. Glad to bring some new energy, some new news, but doing well down here in Atlanta.
Awesome. The Buzz podcast. I'm extremely excited to talk about this. And Maureen, how are you doing? First time to meet you, but a true pleasure. Thank you.
It's great to meet you too, Justin. And I am, of course, doing fantastic.
Awesome. Where are you calling in from, Maureen?
Iowa.
I
live right smack in the middle of the United States, not the potato state.
Yeah.
We're known for corn, not
you
potato.
go. Yeah, you're not Idaho. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I think you get the award. You're the first guest ever to dial in from Iowa.
Awesome.
Yeah. This is great. I love this. We're always the great fly. I love firsts. And Mike, you're calling in from the Atlanta region, Atlanta?
Atlanta. I am right down here in Vinings.
Atlanta. Love it, love it, love it. So special show, bringing the buzz to everybody. Why don't you, first of all, Maureen, since you're new to the show, before we get into your new podcast, tell us where you were born, raised, college, all that good stuff. Everybody knows Mike from my previous podcast, but please tell me about you.
I think everybody does know Mike, and I almost want to take a poll just to see if somebody hasn't heard of him.
Right, exactly.
Side note, I was on a recording last night with some new friends, and we all had to talk about how we came to know this other person, and I was like, Mike Mosquito. And that's just the intro. That's all you need to know.
Yep.
No, I'm originally from St. Louis. That's where I was born, but moved to Iowa really as a young child, have lived in Iowa pretty much all of my life. Decided to pursue nursing as a second career path and have not regretted it at all. I did emergency nursing for a number of years and then moved into different aspects before finally landing in IT, which shout out to John Copley, because I've said that was not a plan. He said, no, it was an accident. And so, I've always appreciated just the different ways that being in healthcare, it really doesn't matter what you do. There's so many avenues you can take.
Yep. Very cool. Totally agree. And yeah, I love those stories. I guess, Mike, first of all, just to give a quick recap, where were you born and raised? Just in case we have a first-time listener, they haven't heard your great voice before. Mike's a very frequent guest, a great close friend of mine. But yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Well, I was born and raised in Mobile, Alabama, so I'm down on the water.
Roll Tide.
Right up. No, War Eagle, man. War Eagle. We've done this.
I know, every time.
Right up from where Forrest Gump had his shrimp boat. So I grew up 11 minutes from there, a place called Grand Bay.
Absolutely.
So it's been everybody knows I went to the Air Force Academy. Also did some time over and got an engineering degree at Auburn and finished up some school up here in Georgia. So been around the region, but haven't really left it other than being out west in Colorado for the academy.
Academy, yep. Love it, love it, love it. So how did you and Maureen first meet?
Well, we first met by her being a little bully in my chime boot camp.
That's your story.
Truth be told.
That's his truth, right?
To this. And it is a funny story. So we were in our chime boot camp class together. And while we were out one evening for one of the networking events they had for us, we just kind of sat next to her and started talking. I'm like, this lady is so interesting because she's a nurse, but she's tech.
Yeah.
And she had a big voice in the class, and she was very engaging. And so we just kind of, over that 2.5, 3 days, it just kind of clicked. Everything kind of fell together. Well, comes the last day, we're in class, and I'm getting ready to I'm going to take the TAT test when I get back to Atlanta. And she whips around and looks at me. She goes, "You are not." I'm like, "Excuse me?" She goes, "You're not. You're taking that test tomorrow."
There you go.
And I said, "No." I said, I can go home and take it." She goes, "But you're not. You're taking it tomorrow."
And then the beautiful part is Mike trying to say, "But I haven't studied." And I'm like, "Trust me, I read the material. It will not help you. It really, you either know or you don't know, but there's no studying for this one. Just take it." I kept saying, just take it, because then you're going to know where you fall. If you do need to go back and look at something, and thank goodness my bullying worked. I actually, among you, and I think there was only maybe a couple in the class that did not, because I bullied everybody.
She did. She was a bully.
I'm an
She's
equal
I can see
bully.
it.
Yeah. She's the smallest lady in the class, bullied everybody.
Mighty Might. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's how we met. We met in our Chime Boot Camp class. And shortly after that, we were put in a podcast booth at Chime.
Oh.
We were 1 hour post taking the test, and we were already in the booth at Chime with the CEO of Chime. And we found out we had passed.
Russ Branzel, is that Russ?
With Russ.
Yeah.
Russ brought us 1 hour after. For some reason, even though we had found each other, Russ decided to ask Maureen and I into the Chime podcast booth, put us together.
Yep.
And so the very first pictures of us post our test is from the Chime podcast booth with Russ.
That's awesome. He's a good Georgia guy too. He's right up the street from you.
Yes.
So I guess, go ahead, Maureen.
I was just going to say, Justin, he's leaving out one critical detail. We did this podcast with Russ and we wrapped it. And then he stepped out, had a side conversation, and it's a glass booth, told us to stay in the booth. And so I thought, oh my gosh, did they think that I cheated? I was really so paranoid about that. I thought, I know I failed, so there's no way I could have cheated.
Right.
And when he came back in, it was all a setup. He had said something towards the effect there was a problem with the audio, and so we needed to record something like that, and then broke the news to us, in which I broke down into tears. And Mike he's not afraid to say. And I turned to him and I said, "That's it. We are family now." And that's really, it was such a fun experience. We're so lucky to have that as a story.
It was recorded too. So that moment, what we didn't realize, Justin, is that they brought the video team into the booth. Well, I wanted just some candid shots of us. So I handed my phone to one of the ladies that was in the booth. So she hit record on my camera. Oh, so she recorded this moment.
That's cool.
Of us finding out.
Yeah, so let's dive into that. How did you guys, where did this podcast come from, the buzz? How did you get started? Obviously, that's the moment where it really got started, but what was the time frame of that? How long ago? And what was the precipice?
Well, I will tell you, I looked at Maureen and I said, I called her. We got back home and I got back and I'd been thinking about, I had this thing called the recap that I want to start up. It's going to the conferences. It's engaging. It's talking about.
I read it every time you post it. It's great.
Yes. Yeah. So you're getting to see a sales engagement, collaboration, networking. What really happens? Why did you spend your dollar? Yeah. Who did Justin have on camera with him at the show? Who attended? And so this thing had started some traction. And then I said, you know what? I want a different voice for the industry, not just a CIO voice, but I want a voice that can have sales enablement, more announcing collaboration around what's happening in the industry for particular sectors of the industry, whether it's sales, whether it's clinical, and then have those voices come forward. And so I said, but I needed something different. I didn't want to just have my voice. And after meeting Maureen, and I thought about it all the way home, I said, I really want a nurse. But I was going to get a twofer because I got a technical nurse who has a very big voice. She is smart and brilliant and is not scared to share her voice. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to put this podcast together. So I called her and I said, look, I've got to ask you something. It's not really going to be an ask. I'm telling you what we're getting ready to do.
That's cool.
She kind of fought me for a second. She said, why me? And I said, don't ask that question. Yeah. I've already asked you to do this. Yeah, so it's not a why me, it's just a yes.
Yeah.
And from that point forward, we have been chained together. She keeps bail money in her purse for me in case I do crazy stuff.
Love it.
And the ride is on.
Absolutely. What would you
It's
add
been
to
a
that,
hell of a
Maureen?
ride. So, what's that?
What would you add to that?
Oh my gosh. Mike, you tell that perfectly. But no, I sometimes, why me? And I know that he says it's the clinical side that he wants to bring forward. And and I appreciate that. I think now more than ever, we're seeing how important nurses are. Not that we didn't see it before, but I think as an industry, we are finally recognizing that this is such an amazing workforce. And so just to have that platform to be able to speak for them, I am incredibly grateful for Mike.
Excellent. No, it's fantastic. So when was this last year in 2024, 2023? When was this, Mike?
2024. So we had the recap before that. We were
Yep.
together in 2023, the end of 2023.
Okay.
And then the recap launched.
Yep.
And we started launching last year the Buzz as well.
Yep.
So it was
Excellent.
a 2 for a year.
Love it. So what do you guys chat about when you're off air? I want to know that.
Maureen.
Yeah, we can't talk about that.
It's just between us three. It's just three of us. We're fine.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we're friends. So we talk about, I think, everything that a friend would talk about. Healthcare, obviously, we talk a lot about that. Mike is a fabulous strategist. So we talk a lot about strategy. The current headlines and things that are happening, how they relate to us. We talk about makeup. Mike knows a lot about makeup. And so he can give great advice on what you should use for a bronzer or for lip. We talk an inordinate amount of time about shoes. And I do believe Mike actually has more shoes than what I do.
This is golden.
So
I love this. It's so perfect for air.
Oh my gosh. And yesterday we talked about eggs. We spent a lot of time talking about eggs because eggs are so expensive. And I was bragging how I had 2 dozen in my refrigerator because I was egg rich.
I have 4. I have 3, I think, in mine. You are egg rich.
Egg rich is important these days.
It is. It's real too.
It is real.
It is real. It is
$10 for a carton of eggs.
That's why I have 3.
Yeah. That's and you know, again, our off the air chatter. That's a good question we get a lot.
Yeah,
I would love to see what's your outro on your podcast. Like, oh gosh, we can't publish. We can never publish it.
Right.
But we are thinking. So what will come out of that off air? What came out of that off air is something that popped up during Chime this year.
Mm-hmm.
So Buzzed After Dark is going to be coming. So we just let you guys know Buzzed After Dark is going to get launched. We already have the first person that's going to be on. This will be the adult after hours healthcare podcast where you grab your cocktail after going to that office all day and we can talk about the stuff that you won't talk about around your water cooler.
Oh, I want to join that one time. That's going to be a fun one.
That's the fun one. And I think that's just an avenue. Again, you don't want to force people into this box of being complicit with, you know, the words you should say. We want to have, you know, some avenue for you to be able to talk, collaborate openly, not be judged. This is how I feel about things. Yep. We're not trying to offend anyone, but this is just my perspective. And we want to bring that to the air. Maureen put it best. I said we're a little bit of TMZ. She says we're a little bit of Dateline. We mashed those two things together.
I like that. And actually, I will say, Maureen, I told you guys off as we're coming on air here that I went sailing earlier and burnt and got wind burnt basically. So I could use that bronzer conversation probably. I didn't have that before I went on air, so I got this great sun glow here. But yeah, I could use that bronzer. So actually, Mike, I should talk to you about bronzer, right?
Hey man, I'm telling you, I got you. I got 2 daughters.
And you know what? He does great with colors too. I told him one day that I was going to wear a yellow top, and he said, "You rocking a tan? Otherwise, that's not going to look good." And I was like, "Okay, I guess not wearing yellow today. Good to know." So he can help you with color choices too. He's very versatile.
For those that may have tuned in a little late, my 2 special guests today are Mike Mosquito and Maureen Nylin, the hosts of the Buzz podcast. And now we just heard that there's going to be a Buzz After Dark podcast coming up. So the hosts of that podcast as well. But where do you guys see the Buzz in like 5 years, 3 to 5 years from now? How do you see it evolving other than the Buzz After Dark?
I think we're going to be moving. I'd love to move more towards TV media where it's live. We're bringing it straight to folks during the day at conferences,
Mhm.
in the evening. That way, we're able to bring in more content, more relevant content, have those relevant conversations, and then talk about what does the strategy look like. We don't want to give away all of our chips, but how do we bring more content that creates opportunity to learn, educate this new generation of younger folks,
Yep.
and
Exactly.
keep the older population of well, older, I should say, the more mature population of executives educated around this new emerging technology landscape that they're facing, right? Because it is, how do you keep up?
Yeah.
Where do you keep up? And how do I trust this technology to be here 1 year, 3 year, 5 years if I invest in it? So I want to be able to put those conversations together. How do I put the right people on a screen? They hear their voice, see their face, watch the interaction, introduce technologies, but also talk about sales leadership. I've been doing a lot of sales leadership workshops. Maureen, she runs her portfolio. She understands technology, how to put the pieces of the puzzle together, but she can do that having a clinical voice. And I think that's one thing that we bring that's a
Excellent.
little different perspective as a pair.
Yep. Excellent. What would you add to that, Maureen?
I was just going to say world domination. I think that's pretty
I like
much
that. It's
where,
great.
yeah, I think that's where Mike is planning.
Can't
He's
say
got,
it out loud.
oh my gosh, he is always at least 6 months, 1 year, 5 year, always thinking ahead. And
Love it.
yeah, we have some funny conversations about what our costumes are going to look like, and we're going to dress as superheroes. And I'm amazed at what we have already accomplished in
Mhm.
a short amount of time. So I believe that if you can dream it, it's going to happen.
Oh, I support that 100%. And that's absolutely true. I love it. The only thing I'll tell you is what I've realized through the years, I've been in this now 11 years, the logistics is something you want to respect and kind of figure out as well. Just because the guests, for me, the guests are easy and the content, it's the logistics is actually the hard part of putting all this stuff together constantly. And then also, because now we're adding video onto it as well. It's gotta, so you gotta make sure the bandwidth and stuff like that is there. But just the logistics scheduling and then the little bit of the prep and it's a lot more to be respected. This stuff is hard to do, as you guys know as well, to do it consistently with all, in fresh perspectives, fresh content. I actually would tell you one thing I got called out on. I didn't even realize it. I'm going into health is because I basically, for the most part, I don't talk. I have a group of probably like 50, 60 people that I speak to on a regular basis. I kind of keep it to that. I expand a little bit out once in a while, certainly if there's a compelling guest or something new. Like now, Maureen, you're part of the group here. But I didn't have enough females on my lineup going into health, and someone pointed that out to me, and I was like, "That's excellent." So now, because I didn't really think about it. I just put in the guest, the kind of the discussion of the day, and that kind
Mhm.
of let all that out, and so it was a great catch. So just stuff like making sure you have the right diversity across all spectrums is really really important as well. And so not only just logistics, but then also to make sure that the right diversity and all that kind of stuff is really important too, certainly in our industry.
That's a
So,
very good point, Justin, because they're optics, right?
yep,
Podcasts used to be only voice only. Adding that video component, which we really believe in,
yep,
changes that dynamic. But even just voice, having just one voice can tend to,
mhm,
people call it out, right?
yep, yep,
They'll hey, I don't ever hear.
exactly.
And so being conscious, and we're conscious, we collaborate heavily on who we're going to put on the show.
Yeah,
Maureen has found some great guests for us. And when she brings it, we have our session, our meeting with our team, and her why is always on point for
good.
why we need to have this. She finds them, and when we're there, it's like now I get it. And we've had the shows that are coming up are phenomenal, but the speakers they make you think. One of our speakers, she was so inside of our heads, we forgot we were having a podcast.
Oh, that's
Uh,
great. Love that.
Yeah, I had to stop. And Mike was going to ask a question. I no, Mike, hold on, hold on. I need to ask her. I feel like maybe I should confess to her now. I do those things that, am I normal? Is it okay? And so we had to have a little therapy session in the middle of the podcast just to make sure that I could normalize my behavior. And she was though fantastic. I can't believe the wide range of the people that we have had on though. So I really appreciate that comment though,
Yep.
Justin, just maintaining that level of diversity.
Really important. So, in the closing couple of minutes, Maureen, what makes Mike tick? And then Mike, I'm going to come to you. What makes Maureen talk? But please, yeah, Maureen, what makes Mike tick?
Well, if anybody has met Mike,
Oh,
we all know that if he's in the room, you're going to know. And it's not just because you're going to hear him, it's the energy
yeah,
that he brings with
totally
him.
agree.
And he makes a purposeful effort to pour himself into others. And so I would say, without a doubt, what makes him tick is all about service. He wants to be of service to as many people as he can. And I think that you can see that through the career choices that he's made. You can see that in the example of how he's raising his daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And so for that, I completely value who he is inside, just as a basic human being. Great guy.
Love that. Love that.
Now you know why I call you family girl. That's why.
Amen. It's awesome. So, Mike, what makes Maureen talk?
What makes Maureen talk depends on what the topic is, because I say closed mouth doesn't get fed.
Right.
Maureen, what do you say?
I don't remember. What do I say? Closed mouth doesn't get fed. Closed mouth. Oh, collects no feet.
Closed mouth collects no feet.
Yes.
Haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah.
That's great. I love to learn.
Yeah.
So it is really about when Maureen, one of our first interactions, I took her into a focus group and room full of CIOs. And I said, I'm taking you in here because I want to show you the power of what you have in being a nurse and understanding the technical side of our industry. And I got to watch this young lady that I barely knew, but I knew enough that if I sat her in the right environment, her mouth was going to open.
There you go.
And when she did, Justin, it was incredible. Every male head in the room, because I mind you, there were only males other than her in the room, turned and looked, and you could see their face going, wow, who is that? And to watch her perform as an expert in the industry, knowing that she's a nurse, she understands how healthcare works, and watch her educate, that gets her to talk. So if you give her a chance to educate and to show off her expertise, one as a technologist and as a clinical expert, you get the best of both worlds out of one voice. And that for me, that's beautiful in this industry when there's so much noise that we have to listen to, that we do listen to have someone I'll never be a nurse. I'll never understand to that level of clinical workflow. So to have someone next to me that can explain, no, this is how it really happens or should happen for the patient, is very important for this type of interaction on a podcast to educate and to educate young people. So to have someone that has a maturity in their voice and for her to want to share it, be able to share it, and be articulate when she shares it, it really gets her to talk. And she's wonderful to listen to. I just, again, we'll talk 2 hours in the afternoon to close our day out, and it will pass like nothing.
Well, here, because we have 1 minute, so 90 seconds left. Real quickly, Mike, why don't we talk about Vive 25 real quick, and then Maureen, I'm gonna have you talk about HIMSS 25, just because we'll close with that. So, Mike, what are you looking forward to? 45 seconds. What are you looking forward to at Vive 25?
I'm looking to see what technology is going to be showing up this year. We just left health. So I'm going to see who's going to be assimilating more technology in the clinical space, not just around the bits and bytes of AI, but how we're addressing the patient. So I'm going to see how the patient outcomes message is coming out with this emerging technology and who's going to be attacking that message this year.
Love that. Great answer. Maureen, 45 seconds on HIMSS 25 in Vegas.
HIMSS 25 is going to be fantastic. We're going to be there. We're going to be talking to some amazing thought leaders. And quite honestly, Justin, as a nurse, I am dying to know what's the latest with AI. We keep talking about it. I want to see those things, how they've come along and how it's benefiting either the clinician or the patient. And if I can't get my arms around that, then I'm not sure that I want it in my health system. So that's what I'm looking forward to, is really having those challenging conversations and getting to know some more folks.
Yeah, great answer. And actually had an ambulance go by on cue for when you were talking about nursing and clinicians. So that was actually just perfectly queued up. Thank you, Sarasota Fire Department. But also, I completely agree with you. HIMSS is also, I had actually, Hal Wolf is my next coming up guest, the president CEO of HIMSS. And we had a conversation here off air just about how HIMSS is what you make it. So there's a lot, you're gonna have 30,000 or so people, and every year it gets better. Last year was a grand slam. I think we all agree. I expect 25 to be a grand slam as well. But HIMSS, a great networking, education, learning, just, to catch up with people that you haven't seen in a long time, and just, education and opportunity is what I think about when I think about him. So fantastic. Well, hey guys, I appreciate you greatly. Thank you for joining. Thank you for bringing the buzz onto This Just In Radio. I appreciate it. I love it. I'll support you guys in every way. So Mike and Maureen, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much.
We enjoyed it always, Justin. Thank you so much.
Always, my man. And a big thank you to all the listeners and supporters who voted us 2024 Podcast of the Year. Please tune in as these shows broadcast weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific. As always, you can find me on LinkedIn at Justin T. Barnes, or track me on Twitter at HAT Advisor, and use the hashtag ThisJustinRadio so I can respond to your comments from the show. If you missed any of this episode or want to hear more, all my shows are posted at YouTube, Spotify, Apple iTunes, Amazon Music, Megaphone, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn. And check out the thought leadership page that we just updated at justinbarnes.com. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.